Let's begin in the Middle East, where at least 2 people have died and nearly 1,000 arrested in violent protests that broke out in several cities across Pakistan following former Prime Minister Imran Khan's arrest on Tuesday. The Pakistan Army has been called in to maintain law and order in the eastern province of Punjab. Earlier today, a court ruled that the former Pakistani Prime Minister can be held for questioning for 8 days. Mr. Khan appeared in court in Islamabad for a hearing a day after he was taken from the court by paramilitary forces. According to a local news station, the former Prime Minister has been indicted by court for unlawfully selling state gifts during his premiership between 2018 and 2022. Mr. Khan's party, PTI, announced nationwide protest over the shock arrest. The former international cricket star was ousted last April, less than 4 years into his term as Prime Minister. In November, he was shot in the leg while campaigning among crowds in the city of Wazirabad. He has accused a senior intelligence official of carrying out the attack, an accusation strongly denied by the military in recent days. Joining us on the world now to discuss this is a global affairs analyst, Sam Fateh. He joins us via Zoom from Washington, D.C. Good to have you join us.
My pleasure.
Let me get your thoughts. This is a series of, it's just a series of events in Pakistan that we've seen, political events we've seen in a couple of months and years. But what's your thought on this particular one? That's the arrest of the former Prime Minister.
Look, I think one thing has been clear from the onset with this problem, which is it is going to cause violence. However, how prepared was the Pakistani government about to handle the reaction from the PTI supporters? I don't think they were prepared. Perhaps they thought there was not going to be any significant reaction. And then this protest that I started in the Punjab province is going absolutely nationwide. And if you look at how the world is reacting to it, they are not reacting in support of the actions of the Pakistani government. All the press releases, even though countries like the United States and the UK have been very, very careful how they word this matter. But the Secretary of State for the United States, Antony Blinken, made it very clear. He called it, it's a dark day for democracy. So pretty much that says exactly how the world is looking at this.
And what makes this particular situation even more challenging is that it is happening on the backdrop of other serious crises. For example, the devastating floods last year, increasing terror attacks, and even rising inflation. Now, when you pile all of those on top of this political uncertainty and the unrest we are now seeing as a result of the arrest, what could likely happen in Pakistan?
Look, we can see ongoing protests and mass protests actually to change government. We could see the next election turning in favor of the PTI government because there has been a lot of dissatisfaction. Mind you, some of the events that have happened, especially with Imran Khan being ousted before his term is over, then an attempt on his life, he was actually shot on the foot. And you have this happening, makes everybody feel like or look at this situation as being politically motivated, that they are targeting him politically. They want to make sure that he doesn't have a comeback and do everything within their powers for him not to contest again. But that would not be a reality if you look at all the events and current economic situation and the high inflation that the people of Pakistan are facing right now. So all of that combined together could make the people very, very dissatisfied with the current government. And here is why. A lot of people today, when you look at the news and when you talk to friends in Pakistan, they would tell you, look, this government needs to focus on more important economic issues that are affecting the people of Pakistan rather than playing political antics. And these were people that have perhaps supported this government before. These were people that have perhaps, in fact, supported the ouster of Imran Khan. But with times changing and with the needs of the people changing, and people are going to react, people are going to vote based on those needs. So again, this may seriously backfire, but however, the court should have sticked with the fact that, look, if you get arrested, they can interrogate you, do their investigation. Within 72 hours, they need to let you go, and they can continue their investigation from there. Perhaps maybe putting him on house arrest would have been a little bit better. But having him detained within with the police or the anti-corruption investigation bureau actually makes it worse, and extending that and overriding the constitution by 8 days would obviously cause a reaction that would say his detention, in fact, is illegal, even though it is sanctioned by the court, because nothing should override the Constitution.
And you mentioned the Constitution, and that's where I'm going next, because you said that the former Prime Minister the government should focus. But the former Prime Minister is also not giving the government rest either. He has pulled the government to court. And we understand that this has now split the judiciary. The government has accused some judges of bias in Imran Khan's favor. Is there also a sense that this could lead to a constitutional crisis?
Look, the judiciary should be apolitical. They are not supposed to get involved in politics. Yes, they can have their own opinions, but at the end of the day, every ruling and every decision that any member of the bench or the judiciary makes should be within the confines of the Constitution and strictly, within the law at the end of the day. I mean, judges will rule. If judges rule in favor of the government, the opposition says that these are hand-picked judges. Perhaps the same judge again will rule in favor of the opposition, and they will say, "Oh, now they have been influenced by the opposition." So it's like we as people in ourselves naturally have to be fair and understand that not everything would go in our favor every time. Now, if I don't see it going into a constitutional crisis unless the government decides to handpick certain judges and fire them and replace them with what would be termed mercenary judges that would make their bidding. That is going to erode the confidence of the people within the judiciary. The good thing is if the PTI and Imran Khan giving the government a tough time by taking them to court and testing their laws, I think that is a very good thing for Pakistan's democracy and their jurisprudence and law enforcement. I think that's a great thing. I mean, how it is handled after that is the question. They have to handle it with wisdom, and then they have to handle it with tact. And if they disagree with any part of the ruling, they can go to the appeals court. There are series or levels, where one ruling is made, you go to the appeals court. It happens anywhere in common law, whether it's in Nigeria, the Gambia, South Africa, or somewhere in England. So they can go to the appeals court. So they have series and levels in which they can appeal matters. But that's a good thing for their democracy, but it should not lead to any constitutional crisis at all.
And you mentioned earlier, general elections are due to take place this year. And that's the very politically divided and polarized country. Now, whether or not elections take place, what next for Pakistan?
Well, here is what needs to happen for Pakistan. Pakistan, after all that had happened over the past, 20, 25 years in Pakistan, the situation with Al Qaeda, terrorist operations from Pakistan, Pakistan's economy has been devastated. We are talking about a very productive group of people, right? I see Pakistan like the Nigeria of the Middle East. These are people that they have some of the top doctors when you come to the United States. They have some of the top, the top surgeons, top neurosurgeons, top investors. They own most of the small businesses. They own hotels. You name it. You're talking about industrial people that have the spirit of hustle and bridled and embroidered into them. So if you have such people in your country, there is no excuse for that country not to be productive, not to be economically successful within their region, not to be that powerful. But it means governments and their leaders channeling their energy into creating policies and programs that would economically advance their nation, that would help uplift their people. This is where any Pakistani government focus needs to be on, to go beyond the history of their political divide, to go beyond the disparities that they have, and most importantly, to leave those days of war and terror behind them and start a pathway to success. That's what any government needs to do.
And is there a way to get there? Because people are saying, look, they don't trust the institutions there to be able to mediate. So is there a way to go from where they are now to what you just described, and who can mediate?
Look, I think mediation in places like Pakistan is very, very difficult. We're talking about a very conservative group of leaders in their own ways, and they have their own ways of thinking, and they are very stuck in their ways. So that's going to be very difficult. It's going to take a whole generation in order to achieve that. And then there are a lot of Pakistani young leaders that are educated around the world, especially in the UK and in the United States, that perhaps we need to have the spirit, they need to have the spirit to go back home and be able to make the change. It's going to take a whole generational shift and the involvement of genuine young people to try to change.
And is that also complicated by the role that the military play in politics in that country?
The military is a very, very powerful unit in most of these Asian countries. I mean, whether it's in Myanmar or whether it's in Pakistan or in Afghanistan. Look, they need to find a very fine line between the military involvement in politics and make them understand what the military's role in the nation is. But that means that they need to have a serious civilian government that is willing and ready to take that risk and do security sector reform genuinely and seriously and have it implemented. If they do that, I think then they are on a pathway to a better democracy and to a better economic, social and economic progress for their people.
We're monitoring developments in Sudan and where that country is headed politically. Thank you so much for talking to us. As always, Global Affairs Analyst Sam Fatty.
My pleasure.